Did you ever wonder if your sim could rule the world? In the Sims 2 University, we are majoring in the political science and aiming for the top. From campus debates to landing that powerful political career, let's see if your sim has what it takes to make a real impact. Ready to build a future leader? Let's find out! Hello everyone, my name is Reese and welcome to my channel. So today we're diving into the most exciting major of them all. We're diving into the political science major. And well, hint, your sim is learning how to become a dictator. So without further ado, let's dive straight into it. Political science, the study of people and power. Those who study political science gain a knowledge of the workings of people in groups and learn the subtle skills of manipulations and influence. This command over other sims can lead to a number of careers, including, of course, politics. So if you want to rule the world, the first class is called the Soapbox in You. This is a reference to the traditional of soapbox speaking, where people would stand on a literal soapbox in public spaces to deliver political speeches. This is probably a reference to how many politicians started in their youth, and it was a common method of grassroots activism and public persuasion before mass media took over the political discourse. So the phrase suggests that the political science major in the game involves learning how to express opinions, engage in debate, and to persuade others. But it could also be a lighthearted take on political campaigning, referencing how politicians historically addressed crowds in person rather than through modern media, of course. So given the Sims' playful tone, it might even be a bit of satire, poking fun at how some people love to hear themselves talk about politics. What do you think? But the second class of the freshman year is called Feudalism. Serfs up! So the name is a clever play on words, combining the historical concept of feudalism with the surfer slang phrase, serfs up. So feudalism was a medieval social and political system where kings granted land to nobles in exchange for loyalty, and for peasants, the serfs. They worked in the land in return for protection. So the joke comes from the word serf, which sounds like surf, making it a pun on the classic surfer phrase. So this reference likely suggests that political science students in The Sims 2 study historical political structures, including feudalism, as a foundation for understanding modern government systems. At the same time, the pun adds a humorous twist, making a typically dry subject sound more fun and engaging in the classic Sims style. But the first year is over and the next one is the sophomore year. Here, the first class is called Patriotism. Why every country is worse than yours. So the name is of course a satirical take on patriotism and the way extreme national pride can lead to a sense of superiority of other countries. That fits well, of course, with the funny and tongue-in-cheek style of The Sims 2, where academic course titles are often exaggerated or ironic. In the concept of political science, this title might be a playful critique of nationalism and how it can distort perspectives, leading people to believe their own country is inherently better than others. The exaggerated tone pokes fun at how patriotism, when taken to an extreme, can turn into xenophobia or a lack of appreciation for other countries. And it could also be referencing how political science often analyzes national identity, propaganda, and the psychology of nationalism, exploring why people feel loyal to their countries and how governments cultivate that loyalty. But to me, it gets even better with the second class, because here your sim has to take the course Lab, Making Your Own Monarchy. So the name is a playful and exaggerated take on political science topics in The Sims 2. It's unlikely that any real political science class would involve a hands-on lab for creating a monarchy, so this is clearly a satirical jab at the idea of political power and also how you study things at the university. So to me, it sounds like a reference to Risk games or games like Europa Universalis. But in a more serious context, political science courses might study monarchies to understand power structures, state formation, and the evolution of governance. And the idea of a lab suggests a practical, hands-on approach, which is humorous, of course, because you can't literally create a monarchy in a lab setting. Well, I guess you can, but it's a complex social and historical development. Unless you're going to coup the government you already have, and that is not to be advised. So it might also poke fun at how some political theories can oversimplify government structures or imply that power is something that can be designed or manufactured, like a science experiment. But your sim is advancing and had now reached the junior year. Here the first class is called Plutocracy, Buying the Vote. So the name is a satirical take on the concept of plutocracy, which is a system where the wealthy hold power and influence over governance. A plutocracy literally means rule by the wealthy, and the subtitle, Buying the Vote, humorously suggests the idea of using wealth to influence political decisions, such as through campaign contributions, lobbying, or, well, corruption. So this title plays on the cynical notion that money can control politics, a critique of how economic power can undermine democratic processes. Which is, well, an ever-present problem, I guess. So this class captures the critical view that wealthy elites often have disproportionate influence in politics, despite ideals of equality in democratic systems. And, well, yeah, again, this humor aligns with the Sims' tendency to use exaggerated, tongue-in-cheek language to make social commentary. And in line of making a demagogue, the second class here is called Protesters, When to Repress. So the name is a dark and, well, somewhat funny take on the dynamics of government, power, and civil unrest. So at this point, your sim is turning into a real-life Machiavelli, and, well, in a real-world political science context, studying protests and civil resistance involve understanding why people protest, how governments respond, and the balance between maintaining order and respecting citizens' rights. The phrase, when to repress, is, hopefully, a satirical exaggeration, making it sound like there is like a straightforward, strategic decision-making process for suppressing dissent, which is ethically complex and controversial. So the humor of this class likely targets authoritarian regimes that use force to control protests. And, well, it also pokes fun at the idea that political science could treat something as nuanced as state repression with such a blunt, almost cynical approach. But, well, now we're almost there because your sim has reached the senior year. And here the first class is called History Majors, Why You Should Hate Them. So the name is a playful jab at the often stereotypical rivalry or like playful tension between different academic disciplines, especially between history majors and political science majors. So this, of course, is also quite funny regarding that in the history major, there is a course subject called Political Science Majors, Why You Should Hate Them. So there's definitely a like mirrored rivalry between these majors. And in many university settings, there can be a sense of friendly, or well, not so friendly competition between majors. Political science students might joke about history majors for focusing on the past rather than contemporary political theory. And conversely, history majors might see political science as overly theoretical or reductionist, not really having an eye for the past and how it influences the present. And again, I think considering that this major apparently is trying to teach the sim how to be a dictator or like a demagogue, well, history is maybe something that you really shouldn't consider if you're trying to look away from democratic processes. And we all know the saying that we should learn from history, but if you're trying to revolutionize and make a new regime, well, I guess that you shouldn't learn from the past. I guess. But the last course that your sim has to take is the senior project. Questionable fundraising internship. So the name is a humorous take on the practical challenges and sometimes ironic realities of academia. And well, this senior project is very calm and respectable considering the more harmful subjects that went ahead of this. Or maybe this again is a reference actually to the, well, let's just say the role of the demagogue or the dictator here, because a questionable fundraising could be acquiring money for a revolution or for a regime, buying or selling questionable goods. Let's just put it that way, right? Yeah, I think we all know what I'm thinking about here. But that's it. Now your sim has a major in political science, and I'm a bit scared to say that I actually, well, think that this is the funniest major to take, mostly because it sounds like the most dangerous to take in reality. So I really hope that your sim has some sort of ethical compass, because otherwise, Pleasant View is in danger. But let's not put more thought into that, and let's instead look at the skills needed to pass. Because you need 5 charisma points, 4 body points, 4 creativity points, and 4 cleaning points. And the need for charisma skills is likely a reference to the importance of persuasion, public speaking, and interpersonal communication in the field of politics. Because political science often involves understanding how power is communicated, how leaders gain and maintain influence, and how policies are advocated. So politicians, lobbyists, and public officials need strong charisma to persuade voters and gain support, to debate effectively and to present arguments, and to negotiate and build coalitions. So I think that the need for this skill references the idealists of political science majors, and maybe also the charismatic nature of some dictators. But then we have the requirement for body skills. And I think that is a playful and maybe a bit of an unexpected twist, likely meant to be referencing the physical stamina in campaigning, maybe even the competitive nature of politics, and maybe also the focus of exteriors, considering that a politician or a leader is going to have some sort of public role where a lot of people are going to look at you. So your looks are going to be important, quite often references the idea that you're standing for. So your body skills are a way to appeal to voters and to showcase discipline and dedication. And, well, stamina could also reference the sometimes brutal and revolutionary context of political change. So there is a lot of different reasons I can see for your sim to have this skill. But we also have the requirement for creativity skills, and that most likely at least plays on the idea that politics often demands creative thinking and strategic innovation. It could also be a reference to spin and strategy, because in politics creativity can involve spinning narratives or reframing issues to gain public support. And that is a skill political advisors often rely heavily on. Of course, it could also reference diplomacy, where international relations often require some sort of creativity or some sort of creative thinking, because it can often be seen as an art form in itself, requiring subtlety, tact, and creative negotiation. And again, if you want to make a new regime, you need to be able to think outside of the current box. But if we take a look at the last skill, the requirement for cleaning skills might be a satirical jab at the concept of cleaning up political messes, both literally and metaphorically. Because as a politician, you might be involved in scandals. You might need to cover up mistakes or to repair your reputation. And the phrase itself, cleaning up a political mess, is commonly used when dealing with damage control. It could also be a reference to like bureaucratic housekeeping, because politics involves a lot of administrative work and to manage complex bureaucracies. That is the less glamorous behind the scenes work of governing. Though I think it could be a more likely reference that the game might be poking fun at the idea that despite the prestige and the political science, sometimes politics is about dirty work. So you might be dealing with corruption, dishonesty, or ethically questionable decisions, and you might need cleaning skills to get over that. So yet again, I can see a lot of references for the need to cleaning skills. It could be about having a clean slate, it could be about having a sleek look, and it could also be about needing to clean up and do the dirty work. So please let me know in the comments if you think I've missed anything, because I'm dying to know what else you can get out of this. But that's it for today. Your sim has a major in political science, and hopefully he or she will use it well. But please leave me a comment below and stay tuned for other videos. Bye!